do, or no?
So if we're at a trauma center, sure.
Okay.
But other.
And let's run it, Chris. All right, everybody, you guys know what it is. The one and the only, the American Cholo podcast, broadcasting live and direct to you from North Hollywood, California. My name is Gil, and I am the American Cholo. Today are we in July now? It's the 25th, right? Man, time flies when you're having fun. I feel like it was just New Year's a couple weeks ago, man. But it is hot in the city. We're coming out of North Hollywood today. And you know, we've been on our political thing lately, which is a beautiful thing. And today, our next guest, he is running for congressional seat. Is it 30?
Congressional District 30, yes.
Congressional seat 30. That's Adam Schiff's old seat. Great Adam Schiff. And I want to welcome to you guys Alex Balekian. What's going on, Alex?
Thank you, Gil. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, for sure. The way we kind of met was kind of cool. I saw you on IG on a reel. Mm-hmm. It popped up in my feed. And on this one, I believe you were speaking about, was it progressiveness or
probably AB 1955 that just got signed.
Which was what?
So AB 1955 is a bill that if your child at school changes pronouns, says I want to be a different gender, and wants to change their paperwork, then a teacher can choose to keep that secret from you, the parent, and that law would protect them.
How crazy is it?
I've tried to stop justifying some of these laws that are passed. But I mean, there's crazy from a parental standpoint and crazy from a medical standpoint.
Right.
So from a parental standpoint, right, you wouldn't even imagine that anybody's keeping secrets from your own child.
Absolutely not.
And I mean, in a lot of different disciplines, right, an adult that is not the parent of your child keeping secrets from you about your child would be considered a groomer. That's actually the definition of a groomer. But from a physician standpoint, right? Because I'm a physician. Gender dysphoria is a diagnosable psychiatric condition. Gender dysphoria has an association, a higher association risk of suicide.
Right.
So if you as a teacher say, oh, wow, this child has gender questioning, gender dysphoria, by definition, that child would be at high risk of suicide. Why would you keep a life-threatening condition from the parent?
And the argument that they come up with is that you should already know your child.
I mean,
right?
There's that argument, you should already know your child. The other argument is, oh, well, if a child is outed, then maybe the parents will beat that child, kill that child, throw that child out on the street.
Insane.
And that's absolutely ludicrous, because if you are concerned that a parent's going to be abusive, there's Child Protective Services for
exactly.
that. There are already policies in place, and we don't need this new policy. So I think it's absolute hogwash.
Now, what do you say to people? Because like when I say stuff like that, the first thing they say, oh, you're a homophobe. So what do you say to people when they tell you, oh, you're a homophobe, Alex?
I say I'm not a homophobe, and neither is my husband. So, you know,
I love it.
That's what I tell them.
I love it. So,
Yeah.
so they can't use that card on you.
They've tried, and I say, I'm sorry, but it has nothing to do with being a homophobe. Me as a physician, this is not something that you keep away secret from the parents.
Now, was that your breaking point that made you run for Congress? Because you're a physician. I'm sure you make good money, right? So what you're doing by running for Congress is you're bringing more headaches to you and your husband.
That is correct. So yeah, that is absolutely correct. I'm doing this because I reached my breaking point, same as everybody else reached their breaking point. I've always been keeping track of politics. I know who my representatives are.
Nice.
I know who my state representatives are. I know what the propositions are. So I'm up and running, but as far as advocacy, doing all those things, I never really did, just because I was busy with work. But I, again, just reached my breaking point where we're paying higher taxes, we're paying higher for gas, more for electricity. We have high crime, high homelessness.
Yes.
Drugs flowing into the country. So when there was this open seat, when Adam Schiff finally left, I said, okay, I'm a numbers guy, and when there's no incumbent, you're going to be your best shot to take the seat, and that is why we ran. And lo and behold, despite everybody's predictions to the contrary, we made it past the primary. Now we're in the general.
Congratulations. How many people were you running against?
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. We were 14 or 15 candidates.
Wow.
Yeah, there were 2 Republicans, me being one of them, and there were 12 or 13 Democrats. And the Democrats said, oh, well, of course you made it because the Democrats, they split their vote. Well, no, because in the district, there's 15% registered Republicans. But me plus the other Republican guy got 22% of the vote.
Okay, that means you're getting some of their votes.
Right. So we got people, either independents who leaned right, or else the more we get to know people, you have moderate Democrats. And really what I want to underscore is this is not a matter of Republican versus Democrat anymore. This is progressive versus non-progressive.
Yes.
And there's so many moderate Democrats who are looking at what the far left of their party has done. A great example is Erin Friday, who you probably know. So Erin Friday is a staunch Democrat. I think she's still a Democrat. Her teenage daughter was socially transitioned at school for at least a year, maybe 2 years. Went by a boy's name, boy's pronouns, used the boy's restroom. And then when she found out, she was understandably fit to be tied. But then she said, where do you all get off on keeping this secret from me? And so that was the moment that she broke.
The switch went off, and ironically, the same thing she was voting for other parents came back to her and bit her in the butt.
Correct. Yes. And so that's why, you know, different people have their different reasons for breaking. And we have found, as diverse as a district that 30th district is, that's why we have a scalpel approach and not a sledgehammer approach. And that is why we're being very targeted and very precise in making sure that we know our audience and we talk about the specific issues that are important to them.
Now, your campaign is, what's the slogan about the progressive? I love it.
So the slogan is "Progressive isn't working," and we were just actually featured on Fox News at night a couple of nights ago. Thank you. And
that's why you got here.
Yes, it's a stepping stone, right? So first I go someplace low like Fox, and then higher here like on the American Cholo podcast with Gil. Absolutely. No, that's what they told me. The producers told me, like, now you can go with Gil.
There you go. You've made it, bud. Yeah, I love that slogan. And it is. I think they mean well, but at the end, it's like I saw some of your interviews. You were saying how they're taking, like, you got a boy that wants to go in the girls' restroom, and it's like, we're not worried about the rest of the girls. We're worried about this person. What's your thoughts on stuff like that?
I mean, again, that's one of the points on my 10 tenets. We need to prevent discrimination of minorities without placing them above the majority.
Yes.
So what we should not do is bend over backwards for a single individual and then inconvenience the entirety of the general population just for that. And again, there's things where people who are transgender, should they be discriminated when they apply for a job? No. Okay, you should treat them all equally. There should not be any discrimination from that standpoint. But when it comes to violating a woman's personal space, violating that, you know, a parent doesn't want their 12-year-old daughter to be changing in the same changing room with a 12-year-old boy, just because he thinks he's a girl. So those kinds of things where it infringes upon somebody's personal space, personal liberties, that is when I don't support it.
Would you be in favor of let's say you get into Congress and there's a vote up or down regarding like male and female sports, like at a college level?
So me personally, I disagree with that.
Right.
Do I think there needs to be a government law? So me personally, I believe in smaller government, fewer laws.
Okay.
I think the more laws that a government passes, the more loopholes you create, and the well-connected people and corporations, lobbyists, they get to go through those loopholes.
Okay.
And you and me, the little guy, gets screwed. So me personally, I don't believe that a boy should be or a man should be participating in women's sports. Would I like to have a different way of regulating it besides a law from Congress? Yes. So that's where I stand. So if that's the only way to do it, sure, I would do it. But I would prefer that it's actually, you know, NCAA that, for example, does it, that deals with that, or like the IOC, the International Olympic Commission, rather than an actual governing body with a law.
Got you. What are your thoughts on Gavin Newsom? I believe it was today.
Hate him. Sorry.
Makes two of us. What do you think about him declaring or putting an executive order as far as cleaning up all the homeless encampments?
Suddenly now it's a concern of his, right now.
Yeah.
After all those years, you see they have these Instagram reels where he talks, as he's mayor of San Francisco, his 10-year plan to fix homelessness. And that was 20 years ago. And So yeah, you couldn't trust that guy as far as you could throw him, right? And so the fact that he says, oh, what he's doing, he is absolving himself of any and all wrongdoing because he wants to make himself look good for either a presidential or a vice presidential nod.
Absolutely.
And now he can say, oh, look, I wanted to fix homelessness and I put it on the localities. But Karen Bass, she's the bad person.
Yes.
Because I said, you guys need to clean this up. And he says, in a tweet, he said, we've given them the opportunity. We've given them the resources. Now they need to take it. For the love of God. Do you think we have a short memory? Do you think we're Alzheimer Biden?
Well, unfortunately, most people don't really pay enough attention. They just see the headline. They see he's doing something. And before I came here, I had that conversation with my wife, and she's like, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "No, it sounds good on the front, but if you look at it, that's exactly what he did. He passed the buck out to everybody else, and now he's gonna be able to say it's Karen Bass, and Karen Bass not gonna do anything about it.
She's not.
They're going to just keep building all these other places and putting them into $900,000 or $600,000 for 900 square feet units. That it's more expensive than a high rise, like a very classy hotel.
Well, that high rise in Skid Row where they're putting the people up there, it's going to be the Towering Inferno pretty soon. That 1974 disaster film. Somebody's meth lab is going to blow up, and that place is just going to go up in flames.
Now, what do you think, if anything, as far as how can we, lower the homeless population out in California?
Excellent question. So the reason we haven't fixed the homelessness population is because we haven't treated it as the mental illness and drug abuse, drug addiction problem that it is.
Absolutely.
So me as a physician, I would be uniquely qualified. Me as a physician from Congress, I'd be uniquely qualified. So there are three things that we got to do. Number one, the federal mental institutions that we closed down in the 60s, reopen them. There are people, you've seen those people, right? They're so paralyzed with mental illness, they're yelling at the sky, they don't know, they're hallucinating things. Those people need to be hospitalized, they need to be placed on medications, they need to get better. When they're better, they need to be discharged to a clinic close to their family, where their family is, for continued support. So that's step number one. Number two, for the drug addicts, they know better, right? They don't have horrible schizophrenia, but they know better. They prioritize their drug addiction over holding down a steady job, holding down a roof over their heads.
Right.
So what we need to do is these tent cities, disband them. Okay, there are 180,000 homeless people in California. 40% of them are not from the state.
Yeah.
So 40% of them are from out of state. Now they may have gotten homeless here, but their family, their support system is out of state. And so the number one predictor of sobriety in rehab is family support, family participation. And in fact, when you do drug counseling with the family involved, people tend to do better. So we cannot expect these people to stay sober if their support system is out of state. So from Congress, what can I do? I can transport these people across state lines, pair that with federal dollars that will go towards a year of rehab, and then kind of reintegrate them, reunite them with their families. Last, but most importantly, secure the border. That's where all the drugs are coming from. We know that China is bringing in fentanyl, right? The raw materials are going into Mexico. They're being assembled and they're being smuggled. Secure the border. These people cannot expect to remain sober if fentanyl is just coming in on the streets, acting as a daily temptation.
Yeah, trying to stop the border of drugs, though, don't you think that's something that they've been trying since since the war on drugs, and it just doesn't seem to ever stop?
So so there are multiple places. So it's not just the border. So for example, ports of entry, Port of LA. Right. There's so many things coming in, so many containers coming in from China and India. Right. Over the Pacific Ocean coming in. So that also is a border that needs to be securely done. And there's a way of doing it. So we did have the war on drugs where the border was tighter. Okay. But what the war on drugs did is, you had examples, unfortunately, of the federal government, the FBI, intentionally introducing crack cocaine into the inner cities.
In the 80s.
Right, in the 80s, to try to stifle essentially the offshoots of the Black Panther movement that was going on from the late 60s and early 70s. So this is why people don't trust their government. This is why people don't trust their elected officials. And I want to be that prototype, that example that says we need to bring back that citizen legislator, the person who actually works and does this on the side. And I also want to bring back term limits, because I don't think somebody like Nancy Pelosi should be there for 40 years. Maxine Waters, Mad Max, they call her. She's been there, I think, almost 40 years also. Represents Inglewood, doesn't live in Inglewood. Dianne Feinstein, 30 years she's been in Senate. She died in that seat.
Yes.
Unless you're a monarch, you should not be dying in that position.
Yeah, but that'll be a tough hill to climb because you got so many old heads up there. They're gonna look at you like, no, we're not going anywhere.
So here's an interesting part. Here's an interesting point. So term limits have been introduced in every single Congress, at least since Newt Gingrich and the Republicans took over in '94. It dies in committee. It got out to a floor vote maybe in 2018, passed, but not with the requisite 2/3 majority that is necessary for a constitutional amendment. What people don't know is that states, the state legislatures, can actually themselves say, okay, we're going to agree on an amendment and we're going to vote on it. And if 3/4 of the states vote on the same law and approve it, independent of Congress, it becomes an amendment.
But that's per state.
No, so I mean, correct. So we need to get 3/4 of the states. But here's how you make it worthwhile for them. Who runs for a federal seat? A state person.
Right.
So if a state person knows that by passing these term limits, there will be more federal seats open more often, meaning that they can climb up the political ladder.
Right.
You use their selfishness to our advantage.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Sometimes we can't even agree on if a dress is blue or gold. So I don't know. I don't know. We're gonna get 2/3. But now that we're on the topic of immigration or the border, right? What's your take on how the border has been handled these last few years with the Biden administration, with Kamala Harris? You know, she was the immigration czar, and all of a sudden she's not the immigration czar. So what do you feel how the border's been handled the last few years?
I think the border's been handled very poorly. I mean, if you look at illegal crossings or where people, you know, are apprehended or just also, you know, give themselves up for asylum, whether it was through Obama or Trump, that was actually unchanged through those years. And then after COVID, during COVID, obviously everything went down. And then after COVID, you saw this spike. So when people saw how weak and frail and non-committal Joe Biden was, they said, this is our opportunity. So I'm going to come in. And you no longer see a majority Central American person coming in, right? These are people from Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. These are not families. These are young military-aged men coming in. Nobody's vetting them. You know, there were some reports that, you know, some of the smugglers were ISIS or Al-Qaeda affiliated. So we don't know who's been coming in. I think that it has made our country exceedingly unsafe, and I would not be at all surprised if we have another 9/11 style attack of all these people who make a coordinated attack because they've come into this country unsurveyed.
Right, absolutely. What is your take as far as giving pathway of just not even citizenship, just green card holders for the 11 million plus who have been in this country working, taking care of them, doing the right thing?
Is this before or after this most recent?
Well, I would say, let's say before.
So I'm a math and science geek. Okay. So, and I like to be very methodical and very consistent. Okay. I think people don't like their politicians because the politicians don't act consistently. They act selfishly. So what I would do is I would get a points-based immigration system, okay? Very similar to what Canada has. And what you do is you give points for, okay, I want to recruit younger, able-bodied people who are going to work and contribute to the economy. I want people with job skills. You know, for example, we have a shortage of electricians in California based on our population. And if we're going to build the cities of tomorrow, if we're going to build these all-electric cities, car chargers, et cetera, we need electricians. So if there's somebody, you know, coming from Venezuela who's an electrician, fine, let's bring the guy in. So I think we should prioritize, you know, younger, able-bodied people, people who have job skills that the country needs. Language proficiency. I think a lot of the animosity that comes from citizens towards immigrants, non-citizens, that they don't learn the language, they don't, you know, interdigitate. And also, I think Charlie Kirk said this, it's easier to dislike somebody that you don't know, that you don't communicate with. And if there is your neighbor, somebody that you pass by who actually you speak to, even if they are the other, it's difficult to dislike them if you actually speak to them. So, but if we have a points-based system like this, where it's very transparent, like applying for college or a job, and everybody can apply, even people. So this reconciles, for example, DACA, the Dreamers.
Right.
So children who were brought here when they were 2 years old. They don't know any other country. And they're like, you know, how am I going to be deported somewhere when this is the only country that I've known? So those people, they're younger, they've gone to school here, so they'll have job skills, they have command of the English language. So based on that point system, they would actually rank quite high. So what I would do is I would invite everybody in a no fault. So even if they're here illegally, no fault, apply, right? And then we say, okay, now we're going to have this list. And it's a very, you can look it up, right? And nobody jumps the list because we've kept the border secure.
Yes.
Right? Everybody respects the system. And then what you say is, okay, every year we're going to, admit 1 million, 2 million, I don't know, whatever the number is, right? And so you actually see this transparent wait list, and you know what things will get you higher. And if somebody's like, oh gosh, I don't know English, but if I knew English, I would rank higher, that would prompt them to take English exam, to learn. So I think that's a transparent way to do it.
Now, is that after? Because you said, and I was distinctly said before and after, but now that it's been open, what's changed about that type of plan that you have?
You mean about like post 2020?
Yes.
Verse
like now.
Yeah. So what I would do is these last 4 years that we've had just this uncontrollable immigration, I would be in favor of indexing those people, right? And saying, okay, this is how you rank on the list, and then having them come back to whatever country they were in before they came in. No fault of your own. If you do this, you will stay on the list.
Okay.
And no harm, no foul. But, we have so many people here who are undocumented. For example, we just gave Medi-Cal to 750,000 undocumented immigrants.
In California?
In California, yeah. When our own citizens, the elderly, either cannot afford Medi-Cal or there are not a lot of doctors.
Oh, don't get me started on that. My in-laws, my wife almost had a heart attack. They get a very small amount with their retirement, right? And they got a letter in the mail pretty much saying, hey, you don't qualify for this anymore.
Right.
Any doctor visit is going to be like $1,000.
Right.
So they have to go through a whole different system. Like, wait a minute. They're not making enough to rent an apartment, live the house, but they say they're over the threshold.
Correct.
How do we change that?
So I think, and this is just broadly what I think a government should focus on the health, wealth, and security of its own citizens.
Absolutely.
Should perfect that before taking on other things. So health, wealth, and security. Health, Medicare, Medi-Cal, I think we should strengthen it, bolster it. I don't think we should cut it. Okay?
Nice.
Wealth, Social Security. The Social Security benefits, don't touch it. Don't cut it. There's so many other wasteful spending that we can cut, like foreign defense on other countries' borders, right? $850 billion a year we spend via NATO on other countries' defense.
It's insanity.
Right. That money could be better spent here on our citizens, housing our veterans, making sure that, low-income people actually are able to get something like Medi-Cal. So there's plenty of money that we're being taxed for and giving to the government. We just are not spending it efficiently.
Right.
So those are areas, our own health, wealth, and security that I would like to focus on for our people. And then once we've got that sorted and we say, okay, we want to expand it to this and this, fine. But first, let's cover the basics.
Right, for sure. Now, when it comes to immigration, do you ever see any party finally given to Latinos? And I say Latinos just because we're kind of the majority of illegals, even though there's many other races, Asian, Africans, do you ever see maybe even the Republican Party again, because they were the last ones to give some type of amnesty. Do you ever see them trying to pass a law to make a plan like that to say, hey guys, all right, you guys are here, you're going to get on a list, we're going to actually close the border, but we're going to do this?
So amnesty is a great cop-out.
Yeah.
But again, the last time we had amnesty, actually, there's been partial amnesty a bunch of times since Ronald Reagan. So my parents were lucky enough in 1982 to get the amnesty that Ronald Reagan gave, right?
Okay.
But then after that, there should have been a system.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So my parents came here as refugees. Again, they benefited from it, but there should be a system. So what I want to say is, I don't want to do amnesty for people, for example, people who've been here 10 years, 12 years, right? Illegally. Do I want to kick them out? No. Do I want to give them amnesty? Sure, but we need a better system moving forward, because that's all we're doing is periodically just giving amnesty.
I think not so much amnesty. I think a pathway where it has doors that you have to, eventually work through and be like, all right, he's no criminal record, no this, you've been clean. But on the other side of that token, we need to enforce immigration laws, which deports people who are breaking the law.
Correct. Yes.
And I think that's where the divide is, because the Republicans will be like, I'll help you out, but the Democrats will be like, well, you can't deport anybody. Like, no, it's a give and take in politics.
And I think it is reprehensible that Joe Biden used the border as a bargaining tool for more money for Ukraine.
Oof.
So he created the border problem by not enforcing the existing laws, and then said, oh, Republicans aren't coming together for a border deal. You don't need a border deal. There are already laws, right? You are the executive branch. You need to enforce the laws that the legislative branch has passed. Right. The laws are there. You need to uphold those. You need to enforce those laws. So I think that was reprehensible what he did. That said, we still need an immigration system because right now we just don't have one.
Right.
And so, like I said, I think amnesty would be something that I would consider, but I think we need a structured plan in place moving forward.
I don't think you're going to get an amnesty deal, and I don't blame anybody for that, but I think there should be a pathway, not even to citizen, a pathway just to be an immigrant. And then from there, you know, you can eventually, after years, become a citizen. But the Democratic Party will also burn down cities. I mean, same thing before the last election, you know, the BLM riots. And first it was an upright, I mean, like, you know, protest, but then it turned into burning down the cities. And to me, the crazy part is after the election, did all this brutality go away that they were writing about just because we had a Democrat in office?
I mean, again, forget BLM protests in 2020. Yesterday, they defaced the Liberty Bell.
That's insane.
Right? Yesterday, they defaced so many different areas of Washington, D.C. So this is still ongoing. They have not fixed the problem. They have allowed people to ride roughshod, flouting all these laws. You saw those cops get dragged.
That's insane.
Right? Down on the floor. Like, where is your upset? Where is your anger to that?
And the thing is that you have the left, it almost pushes an agenda. And to me, I saw Kamala Harris today, and she's all these beautiful American flags behind her. But I'm like, but you guys support the people that have burned it. You guys support the people that won't stand up for the what's it called when you do the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. It's almost like they play a role that they love America, but at the same time support people that hate America.
Right, and leave the burning of the American flag aside because that, you know, the Supreme Court, a conservative Supreme Court said that actually, you know, that's freedom of speech.
Yeah, it definitely is.
They were waving a Hamas flag.
Yeah, that's insane.
Right, there was a terrorist organization whose flag was being waved by people in disguises. Right, with balaclavas on. How is that okay?
It's not.
How is that okay? I mean, you should have the Capitol Police arresting those people.
Absolutely.
Same as the J6ers, right? Like, those people should not have been there. Somebody who's in full disguise waving a terrorist organization's flag. How is that man not arrested immediately on the spot?
I don't know. It's insanity. It's like they let him get away with anything, but if it happens on the other side, they start saying it's anarchy. But when they do it, it's okay. And I saw the bell getting all tagged on. They're putting Hamas, this is Palestine. And those same young kids, whether they know it or not, if they were over there, they get killed quicker than a hog at dinner, right? I
mean, there is a new 1% now.
Yeah.
And with the Occupy Wall Street, they complained about the 1%. Now there's a new 1%, this protected class of Antifa agitators who do whatever they want and stoke violence, stoke anarchy, and they are untouchable. And then they are just more and more brazen because nobody is nipping it in the bud and teaching them a lesson.
Right. Now, let's go into crime because you said they were getting those Capitol Police and dragging them. I remember a few months back, they had a couple police officers out of New York that they were beaten up, and those guys got released on no bail system. And it seems like in today's society, it's almost like you can do anything you want, and there is no real consequences as it was before.
Action should have consequences. Crimes should have punishments.
Absolutely.
Plainly and simply. I call myself a Deukmejian Republican.
Deukmejian,
yes. So for people who don't know, George Deukmejian was governor of California from 1982 to 1990. You could not be Armenian in California in the 80s and not be a Republican because your Uncle George, George Deukmejian, was governor, and he was all about law and order, stay out of my bank account, stay out of my personal life. Okay, he was Attorney General.
I didn't know that. I remember Deukmejian, but
yes,
I didn't know.
Yeah, right. Deukmejian was Armenian. And so he was just very tough on crime. That is what he ran on, and that is what he won on. And he just put a lot of people in jail, a lot of criminals in jail. And again, if people want to talk about, so restorative justice, that's a term that people throw out. And in fact, my opponent, Laura Friedman, is on the restorative justice caucus. Restorative justice in every sense of the word means that you restore somebody back to being a citizen. And in a place like Norway, the prisons are almost like schools where they're taught a skill, they're given education, and it's all about, okay, we're preparing you for the day that you're released so that you can be a productive member of society and you can go back into society and not take up a life of crime. Here, restorative justice, all they've restored is crime and chaos.
Right.
And so I think that we need to get back to a place where the petty criminals are captured, prosecuted, punished, and serve as examples to other petty criminals, because if you don't nip it in the bud, a petty criminal then will become a violent criminal.
For sure.
And that is what we don't want.
And so what are your thoughts on Prop 47? Because that's the one that really threw us in the loop here in California.
What is it called? The Safe Schools and Neighborhoods Act?
Yeah, they're great at naming it something else. And you think, oh, I'll vote for that. That'll make our streets safer.
So for people watching at home, Prop 47 10 years ago was a proposition that was essentially a bait and switch, where they told people, oh, we have too many people unnecessarily in jails. These young men of color, they've been unfairly prosecuted and penalized, and so it's going to ruin them for life. And they said, we're just going to try to give more proportionate punishments. And that was what it was like on paper. However, in principle, in practice, that's not what happened. You just had a lot of minor criminals, petty criminals, not getting punished. And then it just kind of snowballed into, now you can't go into a Target and get underwear without having overheads, paging somebody overhead.
Everything's locked. I went into one the other day and I was like, bro, no, and I went to Home Depot. What was I buying? I was like, dude, everything's behind the case.
Everything's behind the case.
I told him, you guys might as well just check, make sure I have money on this card before I walk in here.
Right.
Because that's where we're at right now. Yep. Everything's behind the case. And all that stuff that's getting stolen, a lot of people believe, oh, they're a big company. No, they're passing it on to the consumer.
Yeah.
That's why everything's more expensive.
Correct. Everything's more expensive. And so for everybody in the audience, if you remember nothing from this, okay, number one, obviously vote for me, but also number two, the repeal for Prop 47 is on the ballot in November.
Yes,
everybody in California can vote for it. I forget the number, but it's going to be the last proposition. They numbered the propositions, and they numbered their own propositions up top, the smaller ones, the last one, so that people intentionally get voting fatigue, so that you don't vote at all.
Right.
But it's going to be the very, very, very last proposition, which is going to repeal Prop 47, and also it's called the Anti-Crime and Drug Addiction Homelessness Act, something of that sort. But it's going to be the last proposition. Vote yes, so that the penalties are reinstated. We have tougher penalties on crime, so that these would-be criminals have something to dissuade them.
And Newsom is fighting that.
So they did fight it. So what they did was, of course, the progressives said,
Put the number up there, Chris.
said, oh, you guys are being too hard on them. We're going to put up our own proposition competing with yours because we think that you're being too harsh on them. My opponent, Laura Friedman, voted for that. And so it's this disingenuous ploy, right? So they want to try to salvage their progressive agenda. So they ended up at the last minute taking it off. But again, my opponent voted for it. My opponent is a proud progressive. In fact, she founded the Progressive Caucus in 2016. She endorses George Gascon. She wants higher taxes. She is for policies that cause higher crime and homelessness. And we shouldn't let these people forget about that.
Absolutely. Also, did you see, and I'm sure you did, that Gavin Newsom sent up to the California Supreme Court when they were having that ballot where Californians would get to vote if they were going to raise their taxes or not. And he said, no, they didn't want that.
I mean, it's crazy. Again, for people at home. So there are two ballot propositions now. So there's Proposition 5, which is going to make it easier to increase your property taxes. So and to do what? For homeless housing.
Oh, God, again, yes.
As if we haven't spent enough money, $26 billion on homeless housing. Proposition 5 is there to increase your property taxes for more homeless housing. My opponent wrote that bill. Laura Friedman wrote that bill.
Do we have one this year again?
What?
Proposition 5? Was that the one?
It's in November, yes.
Oh, God, another one.
Correct. So, and then what we wanted to do was we said, okay, no, we want to make sure that everything has a 2/3 majority, not just a simple 50% majority. And so they took that to court and they said, oh, the people can't do that, which is absolutely crazy because the California Constitution says that laws and amendments can be made either through the legislature or via proposition popular vote, like what the people say, which is what we wanted to do. So the fact that they went against our constitutional
And what the people wanted.
Why? Because the Supreme Court, which has been appointed by, Democratic
Governors.
For the last 16 years.
Right.
So it's crazy how everybody's all in cahoots with each other.
I tell people that subscribe to the channel or watch channel, anything to do with bonds, vote no. Vote no. These are just more taxes because all their pet projects, like I said, it was 20 billion about a year ago. Now it's 25. Now it's 26. That's an outrageous amount of money, and we don't see anything for it.
Right. And so there's this. So for people at home, anytime you see a bond measure, a bond is simply a loan. So they say, oh, we're going to get a loan. What do you have to do to loan? You have to pay it back with interest.
Yes.
How are they going to pay it back with interest? They increase our property taxes. So that's exactly what a bond is. It's a property tax that's hidden just by its name. And so there are two, I think Prop 1 and Prop 2, there's $20 billion in bonds that they want to borrow.
Right.
10 billion of it for the environment. If you talk to these climate people, right? We need to do this. We need to drive less and take the bus more. Even if you're going to be stabbed by a homeless person, you still need to take the bus. But then at the end of the day, what do they say? We still need to do more.
Yeah,
we still need to raise more money. So it's a money grab.
And it seems like there's no end in sight until we actually come together as people in California and vote these people out, vote these policies out.
So here's what, and again, I'm speaking directly to the people at home. The reason all of these laws have been passed nonstop is because there is a supermajority in the California legislature, meaning that more than 2/3 of both houses are occupied by Democrats. So it is a veto-proof majority. Why is that? Because, and this, unfortunately, the fault of this lands squarely on the shoulders of the Republican Party. Okay, the Republican Party has in the past put up candidates that have been either not likable or not relatable.
Right.
And so this is, and what does the Democratic Party do? They're excellent at messaging. The Democratic Party has been really good at branding the Republican Party, whether correctly or incorrectly, doesn't matter, because this is the reputation they have of being old racist white men who hate immigrants and gays and who want to chain a woman's uterus to the wall.
And you're none of those. Which
so
is the funny part.
But what I'm saying is, right, somebody says, yeah, you're not an old racist white guy. No, I'm not. Like, I'm the son of immigrants, and we have traditional immigrant values, which is what? Number 1, home and family. Don't mess with us. Number 2, quality education for the kids.
Yes, sir.
So that number 3, you can work hard, build your American dream, and then leave a legacy to your family and for your community.
Absolutely.
Right? So that is what my household was. And so that is why I think it's unfashionable to say that you're Republican, but the Republican Party needs to recruit younger, fresher, people, candidates who people can say, oh, wow, this isn't an old racist white guy. This person is actually saying things that are very interesting. So that is, then I'll go ahead and participate and vote for them.
Right. And I think the message is starting to get across because, I could even see it with the platform that we're running and other people that I know. And now when you actually start having the conversation, most people that keep voting Democrat don't even know policies. Their mom's Democrat, their father was Democrat. They think we're all Democrats. But when you start saying, do you like what's going on with crime? They're like, no. Do you like what's going on with homelessness? No. Do you like what's going on with taxes? Like, no. Like, bro, well, how do I, like my brother-in-law's, how do you change it? I said, vote red, bro. Right. Vote red. That's all I'm not telling you they're going to be the saviors, but we need to get the attention of the Democrats. Hey, we got to pull this ship this way a little bit.
Exactly.
You guys have gone way too far to the left. I don't want to go all the way to the right either. Exactly. But let's go back to the center.
Exactly. And so it's been, I'm not going to say difficult for us, but it's been work intensive.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, I'm not a politician. People don't know me. So people are going to go blindly. There's going to be an R and a D, and they're going to vote for the D out of habit. But I'm telling you, it's the reason I keep going out there is because I get on 100% positive feedback, and I'm going only to Democrats, and I'm introducing myself, and I say, look, I am not your typical Republican, and then I talk about, what do you think of crime in George Gascon? Oh my God, he's terrible.
Yeah.
Do you know that my opponent wants him to be reelected? Are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. Like I think that crime should be punished. Oh wow, that's great. And then all of a sudden, like it just snowballs, and like, wow, I think I'm going to vote for you. Great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you guys want to call in, ask some questions, 747-279-8109, 747-279-8109. And that's what it is. It's about getting the message out there, showing the people. And I'm really hoping that this year there'll be a small wave in California that starts changing the narrative to let people know that, hey, we can make a difference, because there's some people that will tell people like you and I, well, then get out of California. What do you say to them?
So the people who tell me to get out, I say, no, I'm from here. I'm born and raised. I'm not going to leave.
This is my hood, Holmes.
And number two, the more the people I'm upset at, there are a lot of right-leaning people who left the state.
Yes.
Who went to Texas, who went to Florida. And, it's like, we need your help. Either come back and vote or send your resources over, right? Like, we have billboards. The Progressive Isn't Working billboard.
I've seen those.
Those things cost money. So I'm like, okay, if you guys are saying that California, should be red again, like, send your resources, all hands on deck, right? Because what happens when conservative people leave? There's an imbalance, which simply snowballs everything. And so I'm less upset. Well, no, I'm upset at the people who tell me to leave, because they can go F off. But the people who have left for greener pastures, I tell them, why did you abandon us? Like, this is salvageable. Help us. We'll make it better, and then you can come back.
Well, there's also a lot of businesses that took off.
Yeah.
I mean, see, Elon Musk is taking his SpaceX out of here.
13,000 jobs just going away.
And there's a lot of people. There's a lot of big companies like that taking off of California. I think San Francisco, they have like 50% vacancies in their commercial buildings. It's like people are like, you know what? Screw your weather. We're out of here because of the taxes. They say, I saw an article where people are going to Frisco and they're having business meetings. They're like, dude, people don't want to come here. They feel unsafe. It's
my cousin who works for Kaiser. He was up in their headquarters are in Oakland. They had a meeting there, and they told them, they said, don't leave the hotel. They said, don't leave, and if you're going to leave the hotel, leave in pairs.
But in San Francisco, that area, that is Gavin Newsom's Mecca. That is Kamala Harris's Mecca.
Yes.
That is Gascon's Mecca. People may not know this, but that's where all of them came from. And they left and started pretty much affecting people with their policies.
Right.
But look what California's turning to. Do you guys want, like people that are watching, do you want California to keep going this way, or do you want to turn it?
I mean, I hope that, not I hope, everybody has seen how bad it's gotten. Everybody wants the pendulum to swing back. I just hope enough people get off their butts to do something about it, because inertia is going to be a giant problem.
Right.
Low voter turnout, voter malaise is going to be a big problem. Or, worse yet, more people move out and then just kind of leave us floundering because, we need more people to fix this.
Now, what does Congress do for, what cities are you going to be the congressman for?
Excellent question. So California District 30, if Adam Schiff is currently your representative, he's leaving a seat, but if he is currently your representative, that is the seat that I'm running for. So no, I'm not running against Steve Garvey and him. So it's an open seat. So the cities are Glendale, Burbank, Sunland, Tujunga, Hollywood, West Hollywood, Hancock Park, Echo Park, Silver Lake, and Rose Bowl area of Pasadena.
And what does a congressman actually do for their cities, or is it just representing?
So what congressman does for the cities, according to the Constitution, taxes start in Congress. So that is why you have proportionate representation. So California is the most populous state. It's going to have the most congressional representatives. And if we're going to talk about taxes, the IRS, federal tax system, all those come from Congress. Congress also can declare war. But the biggest thing that I'm going to do, everybody says, well, what law are you going to write?
Right.
We have so many laws burdening our daily lives, creating these loopholes that other well-connected people can go through, but we get screwed for. So what I want to do is I want to find laws that make our lives difficult, that make our lives inefficient, and I want to start repealing unnecessary laws.
Nice.
I also want to start cutting unnecessary spending. We have a giant debt. I say we would be all better off if we ran this country like we ran our own household, on a budget and with minimal interference from outside sources. So I want to cut unnecessary spending. Again, I don't want to touch Medicare, Social Security, our own defenses, securing our own border. What I want to touch is I don't want to have to give hundreds of millions of dollars to Turkey, right? That just blackmailed us for F-16 fighter jets, just so we could let in Sweden, for example, in NATO. So I think NATO is bloated. I think we don't need to send $850 billion. So we should cut that spending and then start paying down our debt and then cutting our taxes.
Hotline. Who's this?
Doing, hey man, I'm Cholo.
Yes, sir.
The more you get, dude, you've been getting me in this rabbit hole with I've been hella into politics because of you, bro. And I've been listening.
I'm glad to hear
I just pulled up.
Yeah.
And I agree with how do you
Mr. Alex Balekian.
Call me Alex.
Balekian.
Yeah, what's your name?
Alex. Online I go by Spinal.
Oh, Spinal. Okay, yeah. What's going on, Spinal? Talk to us.
No. I agree with everything that he's saying, man. And the funniest part, and he should probably make it a clip, when he was saying something and he's like, well, ask my husband. I was like, what? And that's fucking, dude, I was like, that's gangster as fuck.
That's golden, right?
That's golden, man. Be proud. Like, I'm going to tell you, when I heard that, I was like, damn. Because, okay, so American Cholo, I'm a veteran.
Yes.
So, I was in Afghanistan, and one of my hardest, toughest sergeants, that made me survive and saved us.
Yes.
Dude, this is your typical infantry grunt, this and that, sniper, this and that. Dude, right now he's married to a gay man in Texas, living his base life, and he's a freaking proud Trump supporter, but he doesn't push that shit.
Right.
And I talk to him every now and then. I go, damn, bro, that's cool, man. That like to have the balls to open up, because in this
no pun intended.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to. I got no filter.
Yeah. No, but I like, and he tells me like, I don't give a fuck what these liberals say. I'm a freaking fuck you and this and that, and dude, he's like your typical.
You would never think he's just army vet. Yeah, that's right. But hey,
and he's proud of it and everything. But I just want to say everything. I don't live down there, but everybody vote for
Alex.
This Armenian brother, Alex.
There you go, the Armenian brother, Alex Balekian.
Well, I know because all the Armenians have their last names end with the IAN.
That's correct.
That's right.
That's correct, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man. And everybody listening, I wish more people tuned into things like this because this is what matters. None of that drama crap.
Of course.
And yeah. And
hey, Spine, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you always supporting, and I'm glad you're down the right rabbit hole, man.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks,
Trust
brother.
me, bro. But it's a good one. It's a good one. It's one that matters.
For
but
sure.
You guys have a good night, okay?
You too, my man.
Thanks.
Oh, that was a great phone call, man. All right, so we're gonna start wrapping this up, Alex. Oh, yeah,
right.
here we go. Got another one. Hotline. Once somebody makes it, they all start coming. Caller.
Alex, how are you? Thank you for taking the call.
Alex, meet Alex.
Hello.
Hey, I was just wondering. So you say actually, let me go with a different question I had. I was wondering, how is it that Armenians pull their money together and help each other buy houses, even if they have low income, even if it seems like they all work together to get one a house, and the other one they work together to get another one a house. How is that work?
In other words, is it true or is it a myth?
I don't know. What I can tell you is the experience of me and my cousins, for example.
Okay.
And so I lived at home until I was 32. So I, went to college. I went to UCLA, so I drove. I didn't live in the dorms, and that was 16 to 20. And then 20 to 24, I was in med school in San Diego, but I, back and forth. And then I went to Texas. But when I came here, I came back from Texas in 2006. I lived for 6 years with my parents, 5 or 6 years. working, saving money.
Wow.
Because my parents said, don't put money in somebody else's pocket. So then I lived. Now, was it pleasant? No. Living with my parents till I was 32. But when I had enough saved up to put down a down payment on a home, was it all worth it in the end? Yes, it was.
Sacrifice.
So my cousins, have done the same thing. So I can't speak for the entirety of my people, but yes, there is this tradition of, don't move out for the sake of moving out. Stay here, save your money. You can live at our place until you actually, have enough money, because there's no sense in you putting money in somebody else's pocket as rent.
There you go, Alex.
So another question: how
That's your last one, Alex. Alex will start asking like 20. Go ahead, bud.
nationally, the Republican Party kind of abandoned California.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just the Republican Party; it would be the grassroots organizations within the Republican Party.
Yep.
What are some of those grassroots organizations across the country that kind of abandoned California and you think could do a better job?
So again, I don't want to speak ill of the Republican Party for a couple of reasons. Number one, a lot of Republicans left California, and when people leave, the donations dry up, and so there's just not a lot of resources to go around. That's number one. Number two, there are seats that are closer, right, or that they want to defend. Mike Garcia in Simi Valley. In Orange County, you have Young Kim and Michelle Steele. There's the seat that Katie Porter, for example, is leaving. The Janet Napolitano seat they want to try to get. So there are races that they're interested in. And again, I'm honest with myself, and I'm also an intensive care physician. So I deal with unrealistic expectations all the time. So am I upset with them that they are not supporting a no-name first-time candidate in a D+23 district? No. That said, when we hustle and when we win this, because of our own efforts and our sweat and our grassroots effort, we will owe nothing to nobody.
That's right.
And so that is why I can go to Washington saying, okay, we won this. This is our platform. We are not going to cave to your platform because we all worked, and this is how the values that we're going to reflect.
There you go. Hey, Alex, appreciate the phone call, my man.
Well, some of the organizations I could think.
Alex will go forever, dude. Alex will go forever. I told him he better drop and he's the one that doesn't pay taxes either. And he never drops a super chat, man. So.
We got more.
We're gonna take. Yeah, wow. I'm telling you. Once the dam breaks, it opens up. Hotline. Who's this? What's up, Jay Fontana?
How you doing, Alex? Everybody on the podcast. I just got something real quick to say because I got to go back to work. It's a question, but Gavin, there's some claims that we're doing, like Alex said, we're in debt and everything, right? But why is Gavin needs to keep lying to Californians that we're doing great? I just don't get it. When it shows, the record shows, we're not in the plus anymore.
I can't claim to know what goes on inside the mind of a pathological liar, a criminal, but the man had to lie to get to where he is, right? He had to lie, cheat, and steal. That is exactly what a politician is. So similar to Gil, I have no filter, and that's why I'm not a politician, but that's why what you see is what you get from me. So that's why you couldn't trust that man as far as you could throw him.
Absolutely.
Great answer. I love that. You hear that, Raza? Wake up.
That's right, player. Appreciate it, man.
And to Armenian brothers, too, in Glendale and everybody, man. I'm glad you guys are opening your eyes, too, man. You guys are my brothers, and Raza together, we could change California forever.
We're waking up. Appreciate the support.
Thank you, brother.
Have a good one. Have a good night.
Let's see. They're loving it. See, once it's like being in school. When somebody dates a guy, all of a sudden all the girls start looking. Before that, nobody's paying attention to him, man. Hey, well, you got competition with Gavin. You got beautiful hair and a beautiful smile, brother. That's all it takes. And I think that's what it is with Gavin. Gavin Newsom just has the political look, and he obviously has the backing and the money.
Right.
But yeah, people are waking up, man, and that's the beautiful part. That people are finally waking up. You know why? Because it is the quality of life they see is going down, and people like you. I appreciate you, Alex, for coming on because, like I said from the beginning, you don't need to do this. You make a great living being a physician, and you could sit there and just be chilling at home, not having to deal with all the problems because once you get elected, hopefully you're going to have to go in there and really fight, right? So I want to thank you for just doing what you're doing, my man. I want you to look at the camera over there.
Of course. I'll say my parting words. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Alex Balekian from Glendale, California, running for Congress, U.S. House District 30. Please visit us. We need people to volunteer their time donate contributions, but really we need people just to make phone calls in Spanish to voters. You can go to alexforca30.com or alexbalekian.com. You can also reach us on our campaign phone, 818-305-4185. You can text us, and I will personally get back to you, but we appreciate your support.
All right, people. With that, make sure to go check out Alex. Vote for Alex. Let's get him in there. And with that, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.